before they pass away. It has been me visiting 35 different tribes or cultural groups around the planet, and then showing them to the world, the developed world, what there still was left on the planet. I grew up traveling abroad, a little bit like a nomad. Throughout my childhood, seeing things change and going from one extreme to another. Then at the age of 16, my appearance changed, my hair fell out. And then everybody treated me different. So perhaps for the first time I had an empathy with all the other people around the world that were tall, dark, green, blue, and then I found the camera, and the camera became my tool as a means of communication. And I have an affinity to the Himalayas. I had some very profound experiences there when I was a young man. A lot of it has changed, but there's one small pocket in the valley of Mustang and the border of Tibet and Nepal that is a kingdom, and only recently did it open its doors. Because of that delayed access to the modern world, a lot of the integral culture is still very much intact. It's probably the purest you'll find it still in the Himalayas today. In the far, far northwest of Russia, in the province of Chukotka, lived the Chukchis. There's only about 80 of them left, and they're split into two groups. They are nomads. So we traveled for maybe 1 month in a Russian tank over the tundra trying to find these Chukchi. We watched them, we observed them. We became a little bit part of their culture, so we saw the nuances, the delicacies of how special they live. You're living on the edge of the planet, you feel the edge of yourself, the cold, the isolation, the fear. I was trying to get as much variety as possible. Mountains, seas, rivers, snow, ice, deserts, and the variety of looking people within that environment. Vanuatu is an archipelago of about 83 different islands in the Pacific. So I found a young pilot, and he said, I will fly you to these islands. We would put enough petrol in the plane, we bought an inflatable boat, and we flew off. Hopefully you can land on the beach, land in paradise. Islands which people don't go to, they can't get there. And at the very end of the trip, we went right to the north, to the island of Ra. One of my favorite images is this coral atoll, sort of this idyllic, untouched nature left on the planet, in the middle in this protruding rock, and then two of these knee warriors standing on top of the rock with this fantastic vista going in behind them. The gauchos in South America, again, they're not a tribe, it's more of a culture. There are not many of them. They live in beautiful landscape. You know, the Patagonian Andes are spectacular. The traditional gaucho, he's a real man. He's strong, he's robust, but he's very, very effeminate. They spend all day doing their hair, wearing their costumes, and then with these horses and these snowy mountains. When you travel to these places, the communication is an art. And I think the best metaphor is you take your clothes off, you become naked. And in the far northwestern side of Mongolia, there's a group of mountains called the Altai. And living within those mountains, there are about 80 men still left, the traditional Kazakhs. And they hunt in the mountains with these extraordinarily big eagles. And the big mountains, the big valleys, the snow, the wind, the eagles, the hats, the fur, all the elements to make spectacular pictures. So 3 mornings I went up very early in the morning, and on the 3rd morning we're standing on top of the mountain, and my fingers stick to the lens because it's very cold. So I take my fingers off the lens and I leave all the skin behind. My fingers start to bleed, then I start to cry because the sun is rising, the people are standing here, and I cannot make a picture. And then these 2 ladies come up behind me and they say, hey, come. And they open their jacket, they take my hands and put them on their breasts. And then they hug me. And then 4 or 5 minutes later, I feel my fingers and I think, picture. And I push the lady away and I go to camera and I put it in and I make picture. Now I'm 47. I started before they passed away officially when I was 43, 42. I'm not an explorer. All I've done is present them in a different way. Them in a very subjective, very personal, a very aesthetic way. If I stay healthy and I stay married and my children keep talking to me, I would very much like to carry on doing this project because I think the value of the story is much more than just the pictures. So I am now returning to some of the tribes with the book and the pictures to talk with them. I want to go into the future and look at us in the modern world and see who are we becoming? Who are we becoming in retrospect with our culture?